We're here today for a couple of reasons. The first one is to sign two important bills that are related to achieving our 40-40-20 objectives and our goal of 100% high school graduation rate by 2025. Both bills very high up on the priority list for the Oregon Business Council, very important for our long-term objectives of creating 25,000 jobs a year and driving per capita income back up above the national average. The first bill, Senate Bill 1581, establishes achievement compacts, which will allow us to begin to align our funding and our budgeting with our long-term educational objectives, and will also give us the opportunity to get out from under the punitive aspects of the No Child Left Behind law. The second bill, House Bill 4165, will create an integrated system of early childhood services to ensure that all of our children are ready to learn when they get to school, ready to read in first grade and reading when they leave third grade, regardless of their income, their color, or their home language. This legislature, in addition to passing these two important bills, as you can see, passed an impressive array of additional bills that will help put Oregonians back to work. In addition, they offered assistance to Oregonians who are faced with foreclosure. They provided relief to elderly Oregonians on their property taxes. They balanced the budget, maintaining our social safety net and not cutting any additional resources from our system of public education. And before I turn this over to the presiding officers, I just want to take this moment to congratulate the legislature for a truly remarkable success. This is our first annual session in an election year, right before filing deadline. And instead of succumbing to partisanship, instead of bringing the election cycle into the building, the Republicans and Democrats came together and took on the tough issues that are facing Oregonians. I mean, there were some bumps along the way. Obviously, everyone's under a little stress in this kind of short session. But at the end of the day, they once again demonstrated their ability to put Oregon and Oregonians first. I have said often that, somewhere in America, a state needs to demonstrate that it's possible to weather through this kind of economic challenge and budgetary challenge without losing our sense of community, our sense of commitment to one another, and emerge stronger and more united than when we began. That was certainly the case in the 2011 legislative session. It is again the case in 2012, and Oregonians should be extraordinarily proud of this legislature and its remarkable leadership. With that, I'd like to turn the podium over to Co-Speaker Hanna.
All right, well, the governor said he'd share the podium with us this morning. He didn't say he'd take all the nice words to be said. But I too want to echo just the sentiment that in the face of a great deal of adversity to our state, and in the face of the historic tie in the House, the 16-14 and the split in the Senate, that our Senate President and its members, Co-Speaker Roblan, and our members in the House really did set aside those issues which could polarize, and you have seen around the country polarize legislative sessions and literally citizens of other states. I am proud to be a part of a legislature which has overcome those things, one in which specifically today on the education pieces we have said, how do you bend the curve? How do you get better results in education? And are there people who are willing within the legislative body to make those courageous moves to do so? I think the education community, the business community in general has been very supportive that we find a way to get better results for children and their families, and to that point for Oregon as a whole in terms of providing a trained, educated workforce that is both attractive to the businesses that are here today and those that we can recruit to our state as we look to the future. I'm grateful for the folks who are here with us and to each of the members of the legislature. I know many of them have traveled home this morning, but if they were all here, I think it would be a true celebration of what can happen in a very bipartisan way in this historic session. I'm pleased to be a part of it and really thrilled that we can make a move on education here today. Thank you.
I also want to say it's been an honor to work with Co-Speaker Hanna, the governor, and the Senate President. And a few of the people who are real heroes of this session are standing behind you. When you're a speaker, you have the opportunity to sometimes say to a person, you know, I've got a lot of things that I have to do. You need to go in that room and figure it out. And we had opportunity after opportunity to put people in a room and say, figure it out. And each time they rose to the occasion and made that magic happen that resulted in the things you're seeing on the board. The other thing that I really want to speak to everybody out there, Oregonians in general, the two bills we're signing today, from my perspective as having been a high school principal and a math teacher for 32 years and then coming in the legislature, this is why I'm here, because I understood back in the 1970s and the 1980s the urgency of our education system transforming itself so that we get the best prepared students in the world. And right now, when our kids are in high school and our elementary kids are starting, we are not competing against other people in our state. We're not competing against other people in this country. We're competing against every other child in the world to have the best and most productive workforce, intelligentsia, writers and artists, all of those things that we need to make a successful society. And we need to start today to get the urgency. Our parents need to understand that they have to work with their children every day so that they have the opportunities that they had. Because the world is not the same place they grew up in. And every student needs to start understanding before they get into middle school that their best opportunity is how they make Me Incorporated, all the stuff they can put into themselves and to get the most out of every educational moment they have. And all of our legislators need to understand we have to be focused on education. It is the driving force of the new economy. It's the driving force of a successful country. And these bills are the start of that, to make sure we keep focused what's really important about the future of our country and the future of every one of those children that we care about. And it starts with early childhood education. The statistics are clear. The more we invest there, the better outcomes we're going to have in the future. It continues through elementary and then secondary school. Every moment is important, and they need to be looking around the world and seeing what other students are doing, because we can do better. We have outstanding teachers in classrooms around this state who are showing us that we can do that. We need to continue to support them. We need to figure out how to get there. This is the start. I'm thankful to be here today, so thank you.
Well, I don't like these events. In fact, the two speakers yesterday came to me and said, Peter, will you take part in this? And I said, no, I don't want to do this. But it became clear to me that they wanted me to be here, so I'm here. And I'll tell you why. The reason is, and I think we signed he died at 8:48 last night, because these guys behind me and some others not behind me scared me to death, because I wasn't sure we wouldn't still be there today. I am convinced that so many of the people that are the heroes are not here. It's a story of life. I don't know why it is. I can think of so many that are not here that played huge roles in this, you know. But I can also tell you, in the back of the room are the people that really should be here, the staff. I cannot begin to tell you about the chiefs of staff, the committee administrators. If you really want to know how this all works, they're the ones. And I think both the speakers and the governor and the caucus leaders and others behind me admit that. They're here, but they never get included. So I do not like these events for that reason. But having said that, it didn't occur to me. I had to get up this morning and go to a lab down here for my physical. And it's funny, I'm there while everybody's in their trundle bed. And I'm trying to get there, and I'm thinking, how does this laboratory work? And I was screaming and shouting, don't you stick me and hurt me. And I'm thinking about the clinic and how all of that is related to something we did in healthcare. I haven't the slightest idea what it is, but the fact is, here I am, they're all feeling good, they're all going to come and feel good, and I'm getting stuck at 7 o'clock this morning, and they're taking probably all that's inside me out of me. But I found myself saying, why do the gods do this to me? Can I not have peace somewhere in my life? But this then occurred to me. There was a meeting in my office. I didn't want it there, where the speakers and the governor come yesterday. It was supposed to start at 9. It started at 9:15. Now what's interesting is, when the meeting ended around 9:45 to almost 10 o'clock, that's 10 o'clock. We signed he died at 8:48. Now I want to just tell you this. In that time, we passed all the budget bills. We passed 3 out of 5 of the governor's bills. We passed mortgage foreclosure, all in 10 hours in this legislature. Now, I'm going to tell you, folks, I don't care how else you write this, Democrat, Republican, House, Senate, whoever's involved, the magnitude of that is extraordinary. Just extraordinary, and we were up against it. That speaks volumes about the people behind me and their leadership and their character qualities, but it also speaks volumes, once and for all, of the extraordinary staff. It's got to be the best in the entire nation that takes care of me and those behind us and takes care of the Oregon legislature and the governor. And to me, it's been a huge honor and a privilege to be there. And yes, speakers, I'm here because you asked me, but I got to tell you, I'm feeling good for the first time in a long while.
So under a coordinated care organization, the 6 different needles and 2 tubes will be integrated and hit you all at once.
I don't like needles. You're not helping me.
So we're going to actually do something else historic. Usually we all sign these bills separately. So we're each going to sign them today. And then I'm sure we'll all be happy to answer a few questions. Since Co-Speaker Hanna's name is at the top of the list, please.
My age, you sit down, you may never get up. There is. I should know where it is.
Maybe you
I
better
almost signed in the
you gotta be able
government.
to see it.
I was going to sign in the government. Not good. I also should have brought my own pen because I like these permanent markers that bleed all the way through the other side. That way I know that no matter what, long after I'm gone, when it's in the archives, my name's going to be there.
It's on the top of the desk, too, I think.
Where's the, oh, they got me up. They moved me up. That's good, huh? What are you doing taking pictures of me for? What are you doing? I feel like one of these movie star types. I get all flustered. There you go.
So I'm sure we'd be happy to entertain some questions.
Whether or not you qualify for Medicare, do you have a plan to reach Actually, I do have a serious question.
That's pretty serious in my book. But.
You've asked this legislature to do a lot, and it has responded in 2 sessions. And the implementation of all these bills could last more than one administration. But I wonder if you have any other goals that you plan to roll out in the next year or so.
Well, obviously, we have a tall order to implement both the healthcare and the education pieces, where we need to go after the waivers to make sure we get the resources into the state. But I would say, in addition to those 2 sort of large policy areas, we still have a lot of work to do to get Oregonians back to work. And I think the real emphasis over the next 6 months, running up to the 2013 session, will be on the economy and creating good family wage jobs for Oregonians.
Do you have any specific steps beyond those you've already taken or indicate for your legislation?
Well, you know, again, we're going to be bringing on a full-time wood products individual to really focus on the federal forests, both the ONC forest and the forest in Northeast Oregon, where I think there's a huge opportunity to get a big conservation win, improve the health of the forests, and put people back to work in the woods and jump in, you know, support our burgeoning or emerging biomass industry. I think the other opportunity, which we just started with the Cool Schools initiative, is there's a huge jobs opportunity in conservation. We'll continue to pursue that, and we'll continue to pursue things like the CRC.
Do you have the momentum to come out of here and talk about tax reform?
Well, I think that's unfinished business, and clearly we have a very unstable tax system. I know Senator Morse and Senator Burrick had a proposal in the last 2 sessions. We do have to address the stability of our tax system. We need to recognize that it was not designed to coincide necessarily with our long-term economic development objectives, and obviously we're going to need some additional resources to fully achieve the 40-40-20 goals. So that's something, a conversation we need to begin, and I expect that'll be part of the 2013 session.
Governor, a few years ago...
You got some guys back here. You're just dying to answer some.
Fine, it's okay.
well, maybe they can answer this too. A few years ago, the business community was not very happy with the legislature. And today, people are praising the involvement of the business community. How did that come to be? What was the role of the business community in this legislative session?
Well, in the 2011 session, basically we endorsed almost all of the elements of the Oregon business plan, and that did include the education, healthcare pieces, and worked very closely with those business associations during the last session to make sure that those went forward. And they were very involved in this session as well. You know, the nice thing about, if you look at those 2 bills, or the healthcare bills, or, you know, a lot of these other bills down there, they had very, very broad bipartisan support. They had support with the, you know, labor movement. They had support with our business community. This is just an example of a legislature that said, look, we're going to do what's right for Oregonians regardless of party, and they did it. And it's very impressive.
Governor, following the 2010 elections, you called the 30-30 House split, I believe you used the word opportunity. Given the success of your legislation, will you be hoping for that same opportunity?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to hope for the same kind of sort of shared governance. I think, you know, Senator Courtney did not have to have the kind of shared governance that he had in the Senate. He did that because it was important. It was very successful, and I think the chances of having a 30-30 House are fairly unlikely, but I have confidence that whoever the leadership in the House is will approach the 2013 session in the same spirit of bipartisanship, the same spirit of putting Oregonians and policy above politics will continue to prevail. Great.
You're on these education bills you said, you know, it's the beginning, there's more work to do. Are there pieces that are going to have to come back before the legislature next year, and what will those look like?
Well, obviously, on the Education Investment Board, and the Chief Education Officer is required to return to the legislature in 2013 with a recommendation on how we change the governance structure of our 0 through 20 system. There is a committee that Representative Johnson is very involved in that will be looking at the governance structure of our post-secondary institutions, with the idea of creating independent governance boards for a couple of those universities. So there's definitely a lot of work to be done. Obviously, in the next session, we're going to have to look at where we are with the CCOs and see what kind of changes we need to make there, and in the insurance exchange to make sure that this continues to work.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.